Okay, good day students. So our first topic which will be discussed today is about intrinsic aids. So this can be seen or be followed and reviewed through your books. So ito po no. So we have chapter 6 from Diaz book and also in chapter 6 kay Guhilde. Wala po siya sa Pilares, but let me discuss. Okay. So sa intrinsic age according kay Diaz, sabi dito is we have an intrinsic age are those age within the statute. So it's always within the statute. Okay. Ibig sabihin kung if there's a law na nakaka-provide, ang paggamit ng intrinsic aid is doon lang sa statute provision. Okay? Nandun sa bill. Ang intrinsic aid ay ginagamit pag hindi maintindihan yung certain provisions. Let's say for example, mayroong isang provision na it's all about example VAUSI, okay? About violence against women. So kung may isang provision doon na hindi natin maintindihan, we have to look into the intrinsic aids. So magpo-focus pa rin tayo doon. Ano ba? Yung title ba? Yung head notes ba? Yung mga numbering ba yan? Yung sequence, yung preamble, and so on and so forth. According kay Diaz, ito yung mga binigay niya na sample na tinitingnan sa intrinsic aid. Again, definition of intrinsic aid according to Diaz are those aids within the statute. It is resorted to only if there's an ambiguity in the statute. Pag hindi clear, pasok tayo dito. In resorting to intrinsic aids, one must go back to the parts of the statute, the title, yung subtitle of the statute, yung preamble, is it an intrinsic aid or guidance, text of the statute, context or body of the statute, chapters, section, headings, punctuations, interpretation, clause. Yung naka-bold dyan, yan lang yung diniscuss ni Diaz, which will be our topic. Alright? All these are resorted to in order to determine the intention of the legislature. Ang intention ng legislature, pinaka-importante. But please take note, as a general rule, the judiciary, the courts, the Supreme Court, are those who are allowed to interpret the same. Yun ang primary function ng ating judicial or judiciary. Sila ang nag-i-interpret doon sa intent ng legislature. Medyo magulo siya. Para sa akin, I find it weird kasi the legislature sila yung gumawa. So they have the intention. But here, sa Pilipinas, ang statutory construction natin dito, nangunguna ang priority ng pag-interpret ng courts. Alright? Okay. So, unahin muna natin yung text of the statute. Alright? So, sa text of the statute, taas ko lang. Yan. Text of the statute, ang maganda dito is the example of Republic Act 7056. So, itong 7056, ang tingnan lang natin yung sa baba. Alright? Pinakitaan ko lang kayo ng example. No elective, provincial, city, municipal shall serve more than 3 consecutive terms, and voluntary renunciation of the office for any length of time shall not be considered as interruption in the continuity of his service for the full term for which he was elected. Bakit ko to nilabas? Now, since election month na ngayon, papunta na tayo sa May, marami ang gustong magkandidato at ulit-ulitin yung kanilang term. When does it end? When will it end? So, according dito sa 7056, malinaw sa sinabi dito na hanggang 3 yung term. Tapos, merong nilagay sa last paragraph, voluntary renunciation. Okay. When you are, pag nasa election laws na tayo na subject, dalawa yung intention para hindi umandar yung 3-term mo. Kasi every candidates generally, kasi meron tayong President of the Philippines, meron tayong barangay officials. So, mayor, konsehal, yan, vice mayor, ganyan, governor, vice governor, congressman, ganito. 3-term lang sila. So, 3-3-3. Ano yung voluntary renunciation? Pag ang isang elective candidate nag-quit, nag-resign, counted yon sa kanyang term. Kaya nga sinabi voluntary renunciation. Ano naman yung involuntary renunciation? Example, merong election protest. Hindi niya kagustuhan yon, pero natanggal siya sa natanggal siya sa posisyon or sa opisina because natalo siya sa kaso. Tawag doon involuntary renunciation. Hindi yun counted sa term. Sinabi ko to kasi dito mag-provide or dito makikita yung what do you call this? Yung possibility na kung meron pang chance ang isang elective candidate to run. Alright? Lalo na pinaka-importante dito is yung usapan nung what do you call this? Kung ano ba, pwede pa siyang tumakbo, pwede hindi siya pwede tumakbo, may kasali na ba yun sa 3-term niya? Napaka-importante po yun, although hindi natin napapansin. Very, very important po yung case na kailangan malaman natin kung ano ba, pasok ba yun sa terms niya. Kasi pag makatatlo na, tapos na. Alright? Okay, next. National Initiative and Referendum. Tawag nito is the subtitle of the statute. Now, what I'm saying about this subtitle of the statute is, doon pa lang sa dito makita natin, National Initiative and Referendum. So, kung hindi ko kaya kailangan ikwento yan, no? Kung ano ang nilagay sa subtitle, pwede din siyang intrinsic aid. Di natin maintindihan yung section 8 for whatever reason. For example, sa baba, that's dito, nakasulat dito is, hindi nakasulat dito, Commission shall co-supervise the conduct of initiative and referendum. For whatever reason, wala siya. So, pwede natin tingnan itong subtitle. Makita ditong title 2, National Initiative and Referendum. Yun lang yung explanation ko doon. Na the intrinsic aid, makakatulong pa rin yung subtitle of the statute. As you can see here na naka-yellow mark. Yan yung subtitle. Okay. Okay, so ito yung process. Hindi ko na yun sasabihin. Pero sir, kailangan ba, sir, hindi ko maintindihan yan, sir. Pag-usapan natin, sir, yung initiative at sa referendum. Of course, for review purposes, we have here differences between the initiative and referendum. So, okay, so initiative definition, an initiative is the power of the people to propose amendments. Initiative, propose amendments to the Constitution, enact, amend, or repeal laws. Ayan. So, pwede tayo mag-propose ng amendment sa Constitution at saka sa laws. So, natin ipa-amend, kasi patagal yung laws about laws through direct action of the electorate. Right? There are 3 types of initiative provided. Yun, pabasahin lang natin, no? Initiative on the Constitution, yung statute, at saka local legislation. Lagay ko yan kasi pwede not only Constitution at saka national laws. Pwede din yung ordinance. Yan, barangay ordinance. Yan po, city ordinance. Yan, pwede po yan. Pwede tayong mag-propose, pwede natin pa-amend, pwede tayong i-repeal. Now, referendum naman, the referendum is the power of the people to approve or reject. Approve or reject. Tandaan nyo lang, approve or reject an act or law. Alright? Or part of it that has been passed by the Congress or local legislative body. Referendum. So, referendum statute and referendum of local laws. Pero walang referendum of the Constitution. Pero, kahit wala dito yung referendum ng Constitution, still pa rin, we still need to have votes for the Constitution. That was applicable in the case of the 1935 Constitution. So, 1935 Constitution kasi, nagkaroon ng botohan. Right? Although, accordingly, mayroong politics na naganap. So, please take note of the initiative and referendum. Right? Okay. So, preamble. Ang preamble is a clause at the beginning of the Constitution. Okay? Hello. Okay. Constitution, a clause at the beginning of the Constitution or statutory explanatory of the reasons of the enactment and object sought to be accomplished. This is the introductory part of a constitution or statute that usually states the reason for the intent of the law. Parang mas na self-explanatory, no? Sinasabi lang dito yung reasons. Now, nakwento ko na to dati sa ibang class ko. The preamble is not actually a good intrinsic aid. Pero they are guidance. Let me explain. Okay? So, for example, 1987 Constitution. Diba? Ito yung preamble. Pinapamemorize ito sa pinapamemorize sa inyo to ng inyong mga law professor. So, tingnan nyo the Constitution, Republic of the Philippines, we, the sovereign Filipino people, imploring the aid of Almighty God in order to build a just human society and establish a government shall embody our ideals and aspirations, promote the common good, conserve and develop our patrimony, secure to ourselves and our posterity the blessings, independence, and democracy under the rule of law, legitimate truth, justice, freedom, love, equality, peace, do, ordain, and promulgate this Constitution. We, the sovereign Filipino people. So, kung mapapansin nyo sa preamble, parang pinapakita doon na priority ang mga Filipino people, hindi po mga dayuhan. Yan yung mga nilagay natin sa isipan natin. Uy, ganun, dayun siya. Tapos, tinan nyo, makita natin, build a just and humane society. So, bawal po sa atin yung mga religion na inhumane, yung mga ginagawang sacrifice, sinasacrifice o pinapatay for religious belief. Makita po natin, promote the common good, conserve and develop our patrimony, secure to ourselves. Ito yung secure ourselves, Bill of Rights. Bill of Rights. So, makita natin sa preamble, it's like a guidance. It's a good intrinsic aid. Pag hindi maintindihan yung isang batas, balik na sa preamble at tingnan natin para saan to. Magbigay pa tayo ng isa pang preamble. Hindi pala preamble. Iba pala yun. Declaration policy pa rin. Anyway, yun yung preamble na napagandang example. Ito. Next. Let's go to the book of Guhilde. So, kasi Guhilde, ito naman yung explanation niya. Aids to construction found in the printed page of the statute itself are known as intrinsic. In determining what a statute aims to convey, the first logical thing to look into is, or are, sorry for the grammar, statute itself, its context, language, title, head notes and epigraphs, chapters, articles, sections, headings, preamble, definition of terms, interpretative clause, provisos, saving clause, and others. Right? Let's talk about this. Now, dito sa Fair Election Act, basahin natin yung mga context. Pinakita ko to because there was a case, there was a controversy. Bakit kailangan itong mga survey? Na nakikita doon yung mga pangalan ng mga tao, sometimes yung mga gastos, yung mga kandidato. Bakit kailangan yun? Pag may mga survey, tapos sometimes nakikita doon yung magkano ginastos. If you can see in a lot of news na ginastos. Sino yung pinakamalaki na gumagastos ngayon? Teka. Si Benhur Abalos ba? Basta ang alam ko, gumagastos si Benhur Abalos, gumagastos si Bongo. So, yun. Tapos may survey pa-survey pa sila with all the names. Bakit po kailangan yon? Maliban po doon sa ginagastos, at the same time, si Bongo, SWS, ganito, ganyan. Di ba yun parang parang it's like an intrusion, it's like a private, dapat. Ba't kailangan alamin yung mga certain delicate information? Ba't pa kailangan pang ipakita yung mga kandidato insofar as their survey is concerned? Walang problema doon sa mga top 1 to top 12 or top 1 to top 5. Okay yun. Paano ko yung iba? Top 50, top 60. Siyempre, medyo nakaka-add yun ng morality. Nakaka-demoralize yun. Pero, Sabi sa RA 9006, makita sa Section 5, meaning in 5.2, during election period, any person, natural or juridical, candidate or organization who publishes a survey must likewise publish the following information: the name of the person, candidate, party, organization who commissioned or paid for the survey. Ang sabi dito, according doon sa controversy or the case decided by the Supreme Court, it is for the purpose of showing fair election. Ayan. Siguro, nilagay ata yun para hindi na makatakas yung mga kandidato na malakas gumastos. Alright? So, although this is not that accurate, pero yung sinabi dito, accordingly, is for the fairness of the election. Kumbaga, you cannot hide your identity that you're spending a lot of money. Bakit kailangan pang alamin ng spending a lot of money? Kasi, doon nalalaman kung saan ba pinanggagastos yung pera. Sino yung galante? Kasi pag malaki pera, marami na tayong iniisip doon. Sometimes we see that, kinuha to sa kanyang bulsa, kinuha to sa kanyang opisina, or for whatever purposes. Kaya, sometimes, if you, also, you can see it. Pag example, this advertisement is paid by, minsan, pangalan niya, or the family of ganito, yung pangalan. So, it's very important to show kung sino gumagastos. Alright? Fair election. This is also very good at sa SOSE. Alam niyo yung SOSE? Statement of, basta yung SOSE is, SOC is Statement of Candidates Expenses ata? SOSE. So, yun. Para ma-indicate din doon yung pag-audit. O, ibig sabihin na natalo yung isang kandidato, hindi siya magpa-file ng SOSE. Kailangan niyang mag-file ng SOSE para malaman kung magkano ang ginastos niya during election period. Ayan. Nakakatulong to. Etong 9006, Section 5.2. Okay. Now, another one is ad interim appointments. Let's talk about intrinsic aids context again, intrinsic aids insofar as context or texts inside the statute. Now, the president shall have the power to make appointments during the recess of the Congress, whether voluntary or compulsory, but such appointment shall be effective only until after disapproval by the Commission on Appointments or until the next adjournment of the Congress. Malinaw dito sa statute na ang isang presidente, pwede po siyang mag-appoint during recess. So, kumbaga, hindi yung recess yung Congress is not in session. So, ibig sabihin, ang presidente pwedeng mag-pick up kung sino-sino. Pero sa next na Congress session, kailangan niya siyang i-approve ng Commission Appointments. Kasi kung hindi, matatanggal yung in-appoint ng presidente. Can the president reappoint somebody? Example, let's say for example, si President Bongbong Marcos, in-appoint niya ako, alright, as the Secretary of Defense. National Defense, di ba? Sana all. So, during recess, walang Congress in session. So, walang Commission on Appointments mag-approve. Dumating yung Congress in session, doon, kinwestiyon ng Commission on Appointments. Tapos, hindi ako pumasa sa qualification, hindi in-approve. So, of course, yung appointment ni BBM or President Bongbong Marcos, tatanggal. Yes. Can he reappoint me again during recess? Yes, pwede. Malinaw sa context, context dito, walang pinagbabawal na ganon. But because of sinabi ni Professor Isagani Cruz, for delicadeza purposes, huwag ka na magpa-appoint ulit, kakahiya. Kung bakit yung pinipilit mo sarili mo, ayaw ka naman ng commission appointments. Huwag mo nang ituloy. Alright? Pero yun, makita natin. So, now, the president shall have the power to make appointments during recess. This is an ad interim appointments kung saan hindi kailangan ng Commission on Appointments approval. Pero pagdating ng Congress in session, yun doon na tatalakay ng ating Commission appointment if irregular na appointment ba to o tanggalin na natin. Alright? And again, President has the authority or power to make ad interim appointments again. Okay, psychological incapacity, although hindi ito law, pero I also want to consider the importance of the case decided by the Supreme Court. Kasi, tatandaan natin, in the Constitution itself, judicial, no. Sorry, hindi Constitution. Civil Code. Civil Code states that judicial decision shall form part of the law of the land. Correct me if I'm wrong. Ibig sabihin, yung desisyon ng Supreme Court, magiging law of the land. Unless, otherwise, i-abandon at gumawa ulit ang Supreme Court ng panibagong desisyon. Now, dito sa context ng isang Supreme Court decisions, very, very important to sa inyong civil code, lalo na sa family code, family persons and family relation subject, ang usapang pag-divorce. So, alam ko wala tayong divorce, pero meron tayong declaration of nullity of marriage. Psychological incapacity. Yung psychological incapacity, according sa case is, kung ang isang tao ay inabandon yung kanyang asawa, or sabihin na natin na wala, hindi, ayaw niyang wala nang consummation, or in other words, walang sexual intercourse na ganap. Hindi na nanliligaw si husband. Totally parang manhid siya. Papasok siya sa psychological incapacity. Now, the psychological incapacity, from the first look, parang iniisip na it's a medical sense. Psychological incapacity. So, kung magdi-divorce or mag-declare ng nullity of marriage ang isang husband and wife through psychological incapacity, unang-unang papasok natin, psychiatric natin to, ipa-psychologist natin to. Hanap tayo ng medical expert. But the Supreme Court said that psychological incapacity, as cited in Tan Andal versus Andal, and this is also one of my bar exam na topic landmark case, psychological incapacity is neither a mental incapacity or personal disorder that must be proven through expert opinion, or in the medical sense, expert in medical field. There must be proof, however, of the durable or enduring aspect of the person's personality called personality structure, which manifests itself through a clear acts of dysfunctionality that undermines the family. The spouse's personality structure must make it impossible for him or her to understand, or more important, to comply with his or her essential marital obligation. Okay. Ibig sabihin, hindi kailangan ng medical expert. However, please take note. I have experienced this when I was with other lawyers. Tinanong ko to, di ba yung psychological incapacity, sinabi dito sa Tan Andal versus Andal, hindi kailangan ng medical expert. But some of the practicing expert lawyers, sabi nila, Attorney Mox, when you became a lawyer, when you are going to practice, you use whatever means necessary. Use all the resources that you have. Though psychological incapacity here, in the case of Tan Andal versus Andal, which is also a ground for declaration of nullity of marriage para magbulag na yung mag-asawa, kumuha ka rin ng witness, testimony ng isang expert. Although hindi naman siya totally zero yung kanyang weight, pero mas maganda pa rin na mag-hire ka pa rin ng medical expert. Alright, yun yung sa practical sense. Alright, dito lang sa Supreme Court, malinaw sa context, na isang psychological incapacity, kahit sinabi pa yan na isang psychologist na merong psychological incapacity, blah 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 blah, kasi sa medical, ganito, manhid na siya or na-abnormal na siya. Hindi po. Ang usapan natin dito is a legal incapacity. Alright, so yan po. So, yan po yung context ng ating law. Next, punctuations. Yung punctuations naman dito, the rules on punctuation, tense, gender, have very little weight. Have very little weight. Tandaan nyo yan, very little weight. Good example is gender. So, mapansin nyo, alam ko, with due respect sa ating mga women, empowerment, gender and development, minsan ginagamit yung he. But it doesn't mean that just because the law used the word he, sexist na siya. Wrong. Hindi po yun. Para hindi lang mahaba. This is a very good, this is not actually related, pero sa amin din, sa Islam, we use he, but it does not connote that our Almighty God is actually a man. We don't know, but we just use the tense or we use the tense or gender he, but we do not proclaim that he is a he, right? We don't know, actually we don't know. So little weight, very good example dito yung case ng family code. If basahin natin. If the adopted is a minor or otherwise incapacitated, the adoption may be judicial rescinded upon the petition of any person authorized by the court or proper government instrumental acting on his behalf on the same grounds prescribed for loss or suspension of parental authority. If the adopted is at least 18 years of age, he may petition. He may petition for judicial rescission of the adoptions on the same grounds prescribed for disinheriting an ascendant. He may petition. Paano kung babae? So, hindi na, little weight na po yan. Yang he na yan, pwede po yung she. And with due respect sa third gender, members of the they, them, pronouns, LGBTQ, yan, pwede. Yang he na yan is interpreted as a man, woman, and particularly also for other genders. Ayan. Okay? So, please take note of that, little weight. Next. Period. Di ba? May mga maliliit na mga bagay hindi natin mapansin. So, Constitution, Executive Department. Tignan, the President shall nominate, makita natin Section 16, the President shall nominate and with the consent of Commission appointments, appoint the heads of the Executive Departments, ambassadors, other public ministers and consuls or officers of the armed forces from the rank of colonel or naval captain. Colonel yan, ha? Pati ako, colonel yan, pero for trivia purposes, colonel pala yan. Colonel or naval captain and other officers whose appointments are vested in him in this Constitution. Period. Period. So, kung ano pinag-usapan dyan, kailangan ng with the consent of the Commission on Appointments. Now, after the period, nakasulat doon, he shall also appoint all other officers of the government whose appointments are not otherwise provided by law and those whom he may be authorized by law to appoint. Ibig sabihin dito sa second sentence, hindi kailangan ng Commission Appointments. This is very, very important. Tingnan nyo, period lang. Dahil sa period, hindi na po kailangan na Commission on Appointments approval on all other officers of the governments whose appointments are not provided for by law and those whom he may be authorized by law to appoint. So, pwede siyang mag-appoint. This is why the Chief of Police, yung PNP, pinakamataas, PNP Chief, hindi kailangan ng Commission Appointments approval. Yan. Isa yan sa mga tricky questions na tinanong ko when I was taking my first bar exam, tinanong ko to. Sabi ko, is it necessary for the PNP? Kasi may nabasa ako na article na kailangan ng Commission Appointments approval. Sabi ni Professor Rigera, hindi kailangan. Check mo yung Article 7, Section 16. Because of the period. O, di ba? Wala namang sinabi dito PNP, di ba? Yan. Tandaan nyo, period, very, very important. Another one na pwede kong example dito is in the case of the BTA, Bangsamoro Transition Authority. So, lately, makita natin na bigla tayo na merong changes of appointments. So, he shall also appoint all other officers of the government whose appointments are not otherwise provided by law. Because BTA is still on the transition, merong pagkapangyarihan po ang ating president. Now, after the parliamentary elections, magkakaroon na po tayo ng fixed na ruling wherein the president can no longer appoint or interfere with the members of the parliament, let alone the office of the chief minister. Okay? Yan. Di ba, period? Paka-importante yan. Kama. So, sa kama naman, tingnan nyo makita natin. Okay. Ang kama, sabi naman dito is, sa RA 7160, disqualification. Sabi dito, ang disqualification, those sentenced by final judgment for an offense involving moral turpitude or for an offense punishable by 1 year or more of imprisonment within 2 years after serving sentence. Okay. Ang sabi lang dito is disqualify daw na maging isang magkandidato, mag-file ng COC ang dalawang instances yan na makita nyo, dalawang instances. Crimes, meron siyang sentence ng judgment involving moral turpitude, or for an offense na one or more of imprisonment, one more, so ibig sabihin, siguro, pwede rape, murder, embezzlement, pwede yan. Pwede din pagnakaw din, pwede. Deceit, fraud, yan, pwede yan. Corruptions, pwede din yan. So, kailangan, yun yung first requirements. It's either moral turpitude or any offense na punishable by 1 year or more. Plus, yung kama na yan, very important yan kasi pili ka dun sa dalawa, plus 2 years after serving sentence. Ayan, within 2 years after serving the sentence. Kung merong isang person, let's say for example, may kaso ako, more than 1 year or involving moral turpitude, tapos na-serve ko na siya, laya na ako, okay na. Pwede ba ako mag-run? Hindi. Because nakasulat dito, malinaw, nakakama siya within 2 years after serving sentence. So plus 2 years pa, sa pang 3rd year, sa aking paglaya, mula sa aking paglaya, saka na ako pwedeng tumakbo. Alright? Kama, very important. Okay. Ito naman, hyphen, governor-elect, elected governor, not important. Another intrinsic aid, civil service. Actually, civil service, insofar as capitalization is concerned, hindi siya kailangan. Pero there are many connotations. Civil service, yung makita nito, indicates the group, which is the civil service. And civil service indicates the system, yung acts. Right? Sometimes doon pero can that be interpreted in different? Yes, pwede. Kasi nga, yun nga, walang difference. Yung capital, not important, in other words. Semicolon, the use of semicolon indicates that the clauses found in the same section are independent of each other, albeit closely related to justify being put together in a single enumeration or paragraph. So, example dito is, di ba, usually, kinakama natin yung, kumbaga, types, ganon. Semicolon is, yun nga, same sila ng region, pero iba lang yung parang, same ruling, different classification na lang. Ganun na lang. Pinaka-good example is ito. Check natin ito. Yung red, purple, yellow, at saka green. First sentence, sabi niya dito is, yung pagre-regulate ng ang sangguniang panglungsod as legislative body shall enact ordinances. And then mag-regulate sila activities related to the use of the land, buildings, and structures. For example, shall, yun, regulate. Una, ito, basahin natin. The sangguniang panglungsod shall regulate the establishment, operation, maintenance of any entertainment or amusement facilities, including theatrical performances, circuses, billiards, pools, public dancing schools, public dance halls, sauna baths, massage parlors, and other places for entertainment or amusement. Kama, semicolon. Yun yung first muna natin na class. Second class, regulate. Ayan, regulate such other events or activities for amusement or entertainment, particularly those which tend to disturb the community or annoy the inhabitants. Yung sa first is specific object areas. Specific areas. Sauna baths, circuses, billiard pools, public dancing schools. Dito naman sa second naman, na classification, sinabi, other events and activities. Hindi na siya place. Pero pwede siyang place or activity na mag-cause siya ng disturbance. Diba? Yun. Next, or require the suspension or suppression of the same. Makita nyo, itong sinabi ko na require suspension, only applicable to sa purple na color. Na kailangan isuspend at saka isuppress. Because it causes disturbance to the community and it annoys the inhabitants. Tandaan nyo na nakakonect yan, ha? Nakakonect yan. Doon lang sa second, which is purple. Sa purple at saka yellow. Then third is prohibit certain forms of amusement in order to protect the social and moral welfare of the community. Ito naman, protection of social and moral welfare of the community. You see the difference? Ruling nila is to regulate, pero different siya. Iba siya ng mga scenarios. Yung una, specific places. Yung ikalawa, na mag-tend ng disturbance sa community at ano yung inhabitants na kailangan isuspend or isuppress. And pangatlo is the protection, the social and the moral welfare of the community. Yun yung importance ng semicolon. Please take note of it. Thus, the Sangguniang may regulate public dancing schools, public dance halls, sauna baths, massage parlors, and other places for entertainment or amusement enumerated in the first clause. Ayan. But such enumeration cannot include as among other events or activities for amusement or entertainment, particularly those which tend to disturb the community or annoy inhabitants or certain forms of amusement or entertainment in order to protect the social and moral welfare of the community in the second and third clauses respectively over which it may suspend, suppress, or prohibit. Alright? Okay, title na naman tayo. Sa title. Sa title, in a number of cases, the court resorted to the title of that law to either construe its ambiguous provisions to justify the ruling. I believe that the legislature created the title para lang pag first glance mo, malalaman mo na, ito na yung case, ito na yung issue. Alright? That's why title is very, very important. Pero at the end of the day, kung magulo pa rin ang title, you always have to look into the text of the statute. Right? Okay. Ganito, for example, meron tayong sinasabi na yung title at saka yung short title. Ayan. So, karamihan sa mga nababasa natin is the short title. For example, Public Act 9006, an act to enhance the holding of free, orderly, honest, peaceful, and credible elections through fair election practices. If you're going to look at the section 1 or section 2, usually nandoon yung short title, which is our favorite, Fair Election Act. Ito, Republic Act 1843, kahaba-haba. Kahaba ba na an act establishment? Check. Article 1, short title, Inter-Country Adoption Act of 1995. Nilalagay palagi yung year. Makita nyo, para mga bago ngayon, nilalagay yung year. Kasi para doon, pag ina-amend mo, alam mo na matagal na siya, or luma na siya, or bago siya. Alright? Okay? Katulad nung RA 9165, yung drugs, Comprehensive Dangerous Drugs of 2002. Ayan. So, na-amend siya. Ayan. Another one is 8552, short title, Domestic Adoption Act. Hindi mo na kailangan an act establishing the rules, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Now, let's look at the Declaration of Policy. Yung Declaration of Policy, pag tinitingnan ko siya, para siyang, what do you call this? Para siyang preamble sa akin. Okay? So, let's see. Let's look at this. Ito yung OPOSA versus Pactoran. When you meet or when you have a subject in so far as natural resources is concerned, lalabas tong OPOSA versus Pactoran. You can also apply this also in the case of the Constitution. Kasi, ano ba to? Bakit kailangan ng Declaration of Policy? Let's read. So, we have Admin Code. We have also the Executive Order 192. Let's read the Declaration Policy. It is hereby declared that the policy of the state to ensure the sustainability, development, management, renewal, and conservation of the country's forest. Ayun, no? Conservation of the country's forest, mineral land, offshore areas, and other natural resources. Include the protection and enhancement of the quality of the environment and equitable access of the different segments of the population to the development and the use of the country's natural resources, not only for the present generation, but for future generation as well. Future generation as well under Executive Order 192. Kaya ginamit yung intergenerational responsibility sa OPOSA versus Pactoran. Now, another declaration of policy insofar as OPOSA versus Pactoran is concerned, na ginamit to para mag-solidify yung kaso ng OPOSA versus Pactoran. Kasi ito yung parang pag-cut ng cheese. Yan. The state shall ensure the benefit of the Filipino people, the full exploration, development, as well as the judicious disposition, utilization, management, renewal, and conservation of the country's forests, mineral lands, waters, fisheries, wildlife, offshores, areas and other natural resources consistent with the necessity of maintaining a sound ecological balance and protecting and enhancing the quality of the environment, and objective of making the exploration, development, and utilization of such natural resources equitable accessibility to the different segments of the present as well as future generations. Ang isang declaration policy para siyang introduction, para talaga siyang preamble. But this time around, makita mo yung purpose. Why the legislature, why the Congress made this law. So you can look at the declaration of policy. Doon mo makikita yung kung gaano sila ka-committed. Bakit to ginawa? Now, ito, vowsy na naman tayo. Ayan, violence against women and children. This hereby declared that the state violates the dignity of the women and children and guarantees full respect of human rights. The state shall also recognize the need to protect the family and its members, particularly women and children, from the violence and threats of their personal safety and security. Towards this end, the state shall exert efforts to address violence committed against women and children in keeping with the fundamental freedoms guaranteed under the constitutions and the provisions of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the Convention of the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, Convention on the Rights of the Child, and other international human rights, instruments of which the Philippines is a party. Now, sinali ko to kasi may mga cases decided by the Supreme Court na sabi nila, ipapaano naman, example, na, di ba violence against women or children? Ipapaano kung ang salarin or ang accused ay nanay. Nanay. Right? Babae yun, di ba? Bakit? How? Okay. So, if you're going to look at the declaration policy, sinabi doon, protection ng women and children. So, kung walang women, may children pa. Alright. Another case decided by the Supreme Court. Yung babae, yung nanay, inabandon ata. Parang inabandon at sinasaktan ata yung anak. Ang nag-file ng case, yung tatay. Sabi nung tatay, yung asawa ko na nanay ng anak namin, minamaltrato yung anak namin. Siyempre, sabi ng lower courts, ay di pwede yan kasi di ka naman babae. But because of declaration of policy, hindi lang siyang limited sa women. Children. Yeah. So, maganda yung declaration policy when you want to summarize what is the essence of this law. Alright? Just because it's violence against women and their children doesn't mean that hindi pwedeng maging liable ang isang women. Alright? Wala naman sinabi din sa declaration of policy na sino ang accused? Lalaki. Hindi. Pwedeng accused lalaki, pwedeng ang accused lesbian, pwedeng ang accused babae. Yung lalaki naman, pwede siyang victim insofar as their children is concerned. Kasi natural naman, alangan yung bata yung magpa-file ng kaso, kailangan pa rin ng assistance. Paano ko yung nanay yung nagmamaltrato? Violence against women and their children. So, husbands, children, can be victim as well. Okay. Head notes and epigraphs. So, makita natin dito, no? Sa Revised Penal Code, commission of another crime during service of penalty imposed for another previous offense. So, makita po natin, yan yung head notes and epigraphs. Commission of another crime during service of penalty imposed for another previous offense penalty. May pagka-statutory construction kasi yung ginamit dito. Iba yung another dyan sa gilid at saka iba yung another previous offense na penalty. But the idea here is that head notes and epigraphs are so important. Kasi nagagamit siya, para sa akin, hindi lang siya intrinsic aids. Nakakatulong siya pag gusto mong tingnan, hanapin yung saan yung gusto mong tingnan. For example, if we're going to look at the penalty, you're usually not going to read the whole statute or provisions. You're going to look at first the head notes. Nasaan yung penalty dito? Penalties. Ganyan. So, ganyan siya. Article 160. Diba? Okay. So, intrinsic aids, chapters, articles, and headings. Pinaka-good example dito is, nakalimutan ko yung case dito. Saan yung case dito? De Castro versus JBC sa taas. Di ba nakwento ko sa inyo, but to refresh your mind, yung midnight appointment, first of all, the president cannot appoint justices of the Supreme Court sa midnight appointment. Yun yung I mean, as a whole, the president has limited power on appointments. He can appoint mga justices, yung Supreme Court justices, pwede siyang mag-appoint ng cabinet secretary, katulad ni Christoph Angara, pwede din siyang mag-appoint, no, not provided by law, yung BTA, yan po yung ngayon si ICM Makakuha and the rest of the members of the parliament. So pwede yun yung appointment. Let's check. Section 14, basahin natin. Appointments extended by an acting president shall remain effective unless revoked by the president within 19 days from his assumption of office. Period. Baba. Section 15. 2 months immediately before the next presidential election and up to the end of his term, the president or acting president shall not make appointments. Shall not make appointments except temporary appointments to executive. Yun, to executive positions when continued vacancies therein will prejudice public service or endanger public safety. Tatandaan yung mga keywords dito. Executive. Pero temporary. And 2 months. Bawal. 2 months. 2 months before doon sa next presidential elections, bawal na siyang mag-appoint except temporary. General rule, bawal. Okay. Dumating yung case ng De Castro versus JBC. So, there was an appointment by the president na hindi pasok sa 2 months. Ibig sabihin, baka 1 month before magpo-presidential election niya. Anong decision ng Supreme Court? Sabi ng Supreme Court, pag naisip ko to natatawa ko eh. Section 15. Check nga, Section 15. Di ba nasa Article 7 siya na Executive Department? I'm going to tell you about this intrinsic aids. 7, Executive, President of the Philippines, and the other agencies. Section 8, Judicial Department. Alright. Nasaan yung pwesto nung section nung appointments ng 2 months? Section 15, di ba? Sabi ng Supreme Court, mula Article 7 hanggang hanggang preamble or Article 1 pababa, applicable yung 2 months na bawal kang mag-appoint. Pero sa Judicial Department, hindi daw applicable. Kasi nalagpasan daw niya. Kung ginawa daw yung executive, mas nahuli siya sa Articles 8 ng Judicial Department, ma-apply siya paatras. So, it's kind of funny. Nung pinag-usapan, natatawa ako kasi bakit, like, it's so weird. It's kind of weird. Like, because of the position of the Articles 8 of Judicial Department, hindi na applicable yung Section 15 na malinaw doon na 2 months immediately before the presidential election up to the end of his term, the president or president shall not make appointments. Pero sinabi dito ng court, applicable lang sa Article 7 because of its position. Yung position na yung kung saan nakalagay hanggang Article 1. Yung Section 8, wala, hindi daw kasali. Kaya lagyan ko ng linya. Na yun. And sabi, the Supreme Court shall be composed of Chief Justice, any vacancy shall be filled within 90 days from the occurrence thereof. Section 9, the members of the Supreme Court shall be appointed by the president list of and so on and so forth. So it's so weird. Kind of, funny. Why is it? So yun yung intrinsic aid ng chapters. Alright? Very good example. Existing pa rin to na case. Okay, marginal notes. The propriety of treating marginal notes as aids to construction depends upon the whether such notes were in fact inserted under the authority of the legislature. So, in other words, is yung marginal, yung sa margins, nilalagay yung mga ini-inserts, mga kan. Pero ito sa akin, parang I don't actually support this kind of act. Kasi, magkakaroon ng riders, kung hindi rider, is yung, alam mo yung insert na lang siya ng mga ideas doon sa marginal notes. It's better na lang to put it in the same statute. Huwag na lang maglagay ng mga sa gilid-gilid. Saka na yung IRR. Alright? Definition of terms, ito din. Very good din to. Definition of terms, when the legislature defines words used in the statute and declares construction to be placed on it, the court should follow such definitions or construction. Kaya napaka-importante maglagay tayo ng definition of terms. Kasi, kumbaga, kontrolado ng isang legislature, or authors ang kanyang pag-define ng kung ano man ang gusto niyang i-define. Definition of terms. Kaya ito, napaka-importante ito. Kasi, kung meron kang different intention or different perspective or definition on a particular term na hindi mo nilagay sa definition of term, ano mangyari? The Supreme Court, the court, the judiciary will interpret it for you. What if kung hindi siya same as your intent? Kawawa ka, di ba? So it will be subject for 2 or more interpretation. And again, the judiciary has the primary function to interpret the legislature intent. This is why definition of terms is very, very important. Okay. Interpretative clause, while the power to construe is primarily a judicial function, it does not preclude the legislature from indicating how to construe the statute it enacts into law. It may, in the statute itself, prescribe rules of construction and indicate how its provisions should be construed. Now, di ba nasabi ko kanina, primary function ng ating judiciary is to construe or interpret the laws. Pero, pwedeng mag-serve pa rin ng guide ang legislature, yung author, through interpretations. Usually, ang common dito is the in case of doubts. Mga ganon. Mga in case of blah, 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 in case of blah, 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 blah. So, let's go at Republic Act 7160 or Local Government Code. Tignan nyo. Let's check A. Any provision on a power of local government unit shall be liberally interpreted in its favor, and in case of doubt, any question thereon shall be resolved in favor of the evolution of powers and of the lower local government unit. Any fair and reasonable doubt as to the existence of the power shall be interpreted in favor of the local government unit concerned. Di ba? Number 2, in case of doubt, any tax ordinance or revenue measure shall be construed strictly against the LGU enacting it and liberally in favor of the taxpayer. Di ba? Makita nyo para pag interpretative clause, parang ginaguide niya yung magbabasa ng law. Mag-interpret. Any tax exemption, incentive, or relief granted by any local government unit pursuant to the provision of this code shall be construed strictly against the person claiming it. Yeah. So, and so on and so forth. Yan yung interpretative clause. Alright. Proviso. Okay, ang proviso, tandaan nyo lang. Accordingly, proviso is generally introduced by the word provided. Proviso following the enactment clause and operates to defeat its operation conditionally. It is the clause found on a preceding enactment to restrain or modify the enacting clause or accepting something from its operation which otherwise would have been without, or of excluding some possible ground of misinterpretation of it, as by extending it by to cases not intended by the legislature to be brought within its purview. So yung parang provided is, hindi na kasi explain eh. Yung provided is yung parang mabibigay ka na condition. For example, I will give you a car provided that you pass the bar exam. Yun na lang tandaan nyo. As easy as that. I will give you a car provided or on a condition that you will pass the bar. Provided. Nagagamit palagi yan. Para naging abogado yung wordings ninyo pag-explain nyo. Example dito, no, Republic 837, no, the IPRA law, jurisdiction. The NCIP through its regional offices shall have jurisdiction over all claims and disputes involving rights of ICCs and IPS, provided, however, that no such dispute shall be brought to the NCIP unless the parties have exhausted all remedies provided under their customary laws. To explain, ang jurisdiction ng NCIP is lahat ng claim at saka dispute ng mga indigenous cultural communities. Sila yung may jurisdiction for such mga claims at saka dispute. However, saka lang ito magte-take effect kasi nilagyan na provided. Ibig sabihin, kailangan muna na ma-comply ito na walang ibabring sa NCIP hanggat hindi pa na-exhaust, hindi pa nagaganap ang lahat ng posibleng remedyo or solusyon sa through customary laws bago i-lift sa NCIP. Kaya provided or proviso is a very, very important word. Exception, ito, common sense. Pero let me just allow me to explain it. Right? It exempts something from the scope of the general words of a statute which is otherwise within the scope and meaning of such general words. An exception exempts something absolutely from operations of a statute by express words in enacting clause. Express, ha? When the statute itself enumerates exceptions to the application of the general rule, the exceptions are strictly but reasonably construed. The exceptions extend only as far as their language fairly warrants, and all doubts should be resolved in favor of the general provisions rather than exceptions. Alright. Para di kasi kayo maguluhan, basta exception na yun. Yun na lang, as easy as that. Use the word except. Okay. Check natin sa good example na naman. No change of names or alteration of the order of the nominees shall be allowed after the same shall have submitted to the COMELEC except in cases where the nominees dies. So ito yung mga bawal mag-change ng names except in cases where the nominee dies or withdraws in writing his nomination, becomes incapacitated, in which case the name substitute nominee shall be placed last in the list. Saving clause in a statute, it is an exception to us of a special thing out of general things mentioned in the statute. All right. Okay, so its usual function is to preserve something as existing rights or causes of action or pending proceedings from immediate interference by the operation of the statute. It should be construed together in connections with the body of the statute in order to arrive at the legislative intent. It should not be construed as to include anything not fairly within its term, unless legislative intent to the contrary appears. A specific saving clauses precedes over a general saving clause, but a saving clause entirely inconsistent with the purpose of the act is inoperative and void. Hindi mo nyo maintindihan to, magbigay na lang tayo ng example. Ito yung saving clause. Ang sinasabi lang sa saving clause is parang in case of kumbaga to make the law alive and continuous, itong saving clause parang nag-provide siya ng parang a definition na sinasabi na unless otherwise na hindi siya tatamaan ng isang law, huwag nyo nang galawin. Right? Parang sinasabi na pag may bagong batas na hindi naman apektado ito, huwag nyo nang galawin. Existing pa to. Good example, standard ranks and salary rates for members of the Integrated National Police. Basahin natin. The ranks and salary rates of the Philippine constabulary elements of the Integrated National Police shall remain as provided for in existing laws, rules, and regulation. Ibig sabihin, before to i-repeal, kailangan siyang maging completely enforced. Paano kung merong repeal? Matanggal na for natural pagbawa. Parang nire-remind lang sa saving clause na oy, lawmaker, make sure na hindi ako matanggal. Kung matanggal man ako, sana mag-exist pa rin ako. Mag-exist pa rin ako in some other laws na I'm not totally repeal. Ayan. Alright? Sir, paano kung may saving clause yung death penalty? Well, tama. Pwede, we have that's a good question. However, what I could say there is that meron naman tayo kasi mga other constitutional provisions na preservations of life, blah, 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 blah. So, we cannot do that for the death penalty. So, yun yung saving clause. Alright? So, necessary, not that necessary. Pero parang gina-remind lang tayo na example, yung parang example, ganito sa case na to na parang i-remind tayo na magre-remain pa rin siya. Huwag nyo naman akong patayin. Huwag nyo naman ako ipa-repeal. Alright? So that is the case of our intrinsic aid. Alright. Now let's move to the other topic. Okay, so I will provide the materials for our topic in statutory construction. Now, we are done in intrinsic aid. Now, paano, sir, kung hindi natin mahanap, sir, yung intrinsic aid? Nagtingin tayo sa mga chapters, nagtingin tayo sa mga wordings, context, saving clause, interpretative clause, declaration of policies, so on and so forth. Wala akong mahanap, sir. Paano natin i-interpret yung isang law? Now, we are going to look at the extrinsic aid. So, this can be found in chapter 7 in the Diaz book, chapter 6 in Pilares book, and Guhildi book. Ayan. Tatlo yung ginamit natin. Okay. Extrinsic aid. Extrinsic aid are aids to constructions that are extraneous facts and circumstances outside printed page of the statute. The moment the court steps out of the four walls of the printed copy of the law, any aid it uses to construe the law is extrinsic. Extrinsic aids are existing aids from outside sources, meaning outside of the four corners of the statute, according to ideas. Now, according to Pilares, extrinsic aids of construction generally refers to tools of interpretation outside the words used in a statute. These extraneous matters are entitled to various degrees of weight in ascertaining the meaning of the statute depending upon their reliability and the closeness of their connections with the statute itself. Please take note, napaka-importante na mag-start muna tayo sa intrinsic aid. Doon na tayo mag-focus doon sa loob ng statute. Pag hindi, papasok na tayo sa extrinsic aid. Again, kung malinaw yung law or statute or provision, no need to use intrinsic aid, no need to use extrinsic aid. Please take note of that. Okay. According sa Pilares book, we have 5 styles in extrinsic aid. We have legislative deliberations, legislative history, contemporaneous circumstances, legislative practice, reference to other statutes, statutes borrowed from foreign jurisdiction. Let's dissect them each. So, legislative deliberation, we have here, in the case of League of Cities of the Philippines versus COMELEC, ito yung about sa parang bill na, ito yung magko-convert, okay, ito yung parang merong mga cities and municipalities na requiring the so-called 20 million requirement para maging component city. Ito ata yung 20 at 18 na parang municipality na mag-convert ng component. Now, because of legislative deliberation, just to make things short, sabi na Supreme Court, kung mababasa nyo sa deliberation, sinabi nila na paano yung pending, kasi nung yung 18 na yon na municipality sa mag-component city, pending pa siya, dumating yung law na about sa RA 9009 na meron siyang requirement na income. Itong municipality is hindi siya talaga pasok sa income, pero kasi sinasabi nila, huwag nyo na kami idamay dyan kasi meron ng batas pero nakapasok na kami sa pending. Now, if we're going to look at the deliberations, ito, sabi ni ni Senate President, the chair would like to ask some clarificatory point. Please, let's read them one by one. Pimentel, yes, President. President, this is just on the point of the pending bills in the Senate which proposes the conversion of number of municipalities into cities which qualify under the present standard. We would like to know the view of the sponsor. Assuming this bill becomes law, will the chamber apply the standard or propose in this bill to those which are pending for consideration? Yung mga pending apply pa ba? Pimentel, Mr. President, it might not be fair to make this bill on assumption that it is approved, retroact the bills that are pending in the Senate conversion from the municipality to cities. President, will there be an appropriate language crafted to reflect that view? Or does it not become a policy of the chamber, assuming that this bill becomes a law tomorrow, that it will apply to those bills which are already approved by the House under the old versions of LGC and are now pending in the Senate? The chair does not know if we can craft a language which will limit the application to those which are not yet in the Senate, or is that policy of that chamber will adapt? Pimentel, Mr. President, personally, I do not think it is necessary to put a provision because what we are saying here will form part of the interpretation of this bill. Besides, there is no retroactivity clause. I do not think the bill would have any retroactive effect. Ito pinaka-importante. So, the understanding is that those bills which are already pending in the chamber will not be affected. Sabi ni Pimentel, this will not be affected. Ibig sabihin, yung municipality na pending while this law is also pending, hindi na mag-apply sa kanila. Yung 20 million requirement para mag-convert from municipality to component city because of the legislative deliberation. Kaya importante talaga yung minutes of the meeting. Alright? Tsaka yung mga records. Yung mga records yun, pwede makita yun sa mga stenographers, mga nag-record doon sa deliberations. History. Ito yung history. So, the history naman is talks about about teka. Ito yung case about sa petroleum law, yung parang about sa pag-explore ng petroleum sa Philippines. So to give you a summary, merong lumabas ng mga special import tax law. So, yung law na yon is parang talks about magkano yung babayaran ng tax. Nagkaroon ng issue dahil sa petroleum law na tataksan nyo pa rin ba kami na nag-explore ng petroleum? Na kung mapapansin nyo dito sa examine as cited in that case, maraming na-repeal na statute insofar as the import tax law is concerned or Republic Act 1394. But out of these 6 statute, the issue on petroleum exploration was never mentioned. In other words, the Supreme Court stated that, let's read the bottom, as can be seen from the foregoing, in one fell swoop, RA 1394 repealed and revoked 6 earlier statute which had something to do with the imposition of special levies under exemption of certain importations from burden of the special import taxes or levies. On the other hand, please check baba, it is apparent that RA 387, the petroleum, has been spared from the pruning knife of Congress, although this latter law had granted more concession and tax exemption privileges than any of the statutes that were amended, repealed, or revoked by RA 1394. The answer must be that the Congress of the Philippines saw fit to preserve the privileges granted under the Petroleum Law of 1949 in order to keep the door open to the exploitation and development of the petroleum resources of the country with such incentives as are given under that law. So, fun sila. Because of the legislative history, tiningnan doon na yung petroleum law as the tax under tax, sila ay exempted. Ibig sabihin, mas less yung kanilang burden. Although yung iba, naga-improve, mo tumataas yung bayad nila sa buwis, ang petroleum law, wala pa rin pagbabago. Kasi, as per legislative history, gusto ng Congress or ang government of the Philippines na mag-exploit pa tayo, mag-explore pa tayo ng petrol sa Pilipinas. Yan. One of the case why Scarborough Shoal is a very, very important place because accordingly, meron daw nasisip-sip daw doon na petroleum. Imagine nyo, we have our own petroleum. We are going to be rich. Yan. Contemporaneous circumstances refers to the environment existing at the time of the passage of the law. These circumstances include the history of the times existing when the law was enacted, the previous state of the law, the events intended to be the corrected, and even according to the some cases, the habits and the activities of the people. Alright. Okay. Case of Lagman versus Medial Dea. Ito yung case wherein yung martial law ata, ito yata yung parang martial law and suspension of habeas corpus. Section 18 states that the President shall be the Commander-in-Chief of all armed forces of the Philippines, and whenever it becomes necessary, he may call out such armed forces to prevent or suppress lawless violence, invasion, or rebellion. In case of invasion or rebellion, when the public safety requires, he may for a period not exceeding 60 days suspend the privilege of habeas corpus or place the Philippines any part therefore under martial law. within 48 hours from the proclamation of the martial law or the suspension of the privilege of the writ of habeas corpus, the President shall submit a report in person or writing to the Congress. Congress, voting jointly by a vote of at least majority of all its members, in regular special may revoke such proclamation or suspension, which revocation shall not be set aside by the President. Upon initiative of the President, Congress may in the same manner extend such proclamation or suspension for a period to be determined by the Congress, if the invasion of the shall persist and public safety requires. Congress, if not in session, shall within 24 hours following the proclamation suspension, convene in accordance with such rules without any need of a call. Supreme Court may review in an appropriate proceeding filed by any citizen or the sufficiency of the factual basis of a proclamation of martial law or the suspension of privilege of writ or extension thereof must promulgate its decisions therein within the 30 days from its filing. Now, ang contemporaneous circumstances na sinasabi dito in the case of Lagman versus Medialdea, ang issue kasi dito is yung president kasi mayroon siyang power to initiate martial law. This is actually in the case when Duterte, no, na ipa-martial law yung Mindanao. Now, merong nag-file sa case dito sa Supreme Court na sabi niya, oy, unconstitutional yung martial law. And sabi ng Supreme Court dito, if makikitingnan natin sa 1987 Constitution, malinaw sa malinaw na una sa lahat, ang President, meron siyang kapangyarihan to place any part in the Philippines under martial law. Alright? Alright? Yun na muna ha. Tapos, manghihimasukan din yung Congress. Alright? Meron ba nakalagay dito manghihimasukan ng Supreme Court? Check na yung last. Sabi niya dito, may review. Ayan. In an appropriate proceeding filed by any citizen, the sufficiency of the factual basis. Walang sinabi dito. So parang ang sinabi dito in the case of Lagman versus Medialdea, yung Supreme Court, malinaw sa section, sa Article 7, na limited lang yung function ng Supreme Court dito because they are only allowed to review the sufficiency of the factual basis. Ano yung basis ni President Rodrigo Roa Duterte sa pag-proclaim ng martial law? Does it matter kung nangyari na yon tapos may ganap pa doon sa loob? Kasi sinabi ng the sufficiency of the factual basis of the proclamation of the law, of martial law. Di sinabi doon the unconstitutionality or during the time of the martial law, the Supreme Court can blah blah blah. Wala. Nakasulat doon, ano yung factual basis? May review. Wala nang sinabi doon. That is contemporaneous circumstances. And also, contemporaneous din na pwede ko din ilagay dito is if you can remember the case of Grace po. Yung issue kasi kay Grace po, during the time na si Grace po is, di ba sabi niya yung foundling, pinanganak siya sa area wherein 99% are consist of Filipino people, Filipino citizens. Now, assuming that Grace po is maybe Americana or not a citizen of the Philippines, because of the nature of where she was found as a foundling na walang parents, pero doon sa area na yon ay lahat Pilipino, she is presumed to be a Filipina. Take note of that. So, yun nga sinabi ko nga dito na history the times existing when the law was enacted. Walang law na enacted pero merong circumstances na ganap doon. Alright? Okay. Legislative practice. Okay. Legislative practice. So, ang legislative, okay. Alright, teka. Medyo mahaba to, pero explain ko lang sa inyo. Okay. Yung case ng Escosura versus San Miguel Brewery, nagkaroon ng, itong mga empleyado, parang nagkasakit ata sila. Then, nagbabayad sila sa Social Security Act ng parang premium. So nung na kumuha sila ng claim sa San Miguel Brewery, sabi ng San Miguel, binigyan namin kayo ng sick benefits, yung mga kailangan niyo ng mga credits, kailangan niyo. Pero 50% lang ay bibigay namin sa inyo, ha? Siyempre, yung empleyado, pumunta sa Social Security, SSS, nag-claim din sila doon. Sabi ni San Miguel Brewery, di ba binigyan namin kayo yung credits ninyo, binigyan na namin kayo ng payment for your needs. Di ba, so you are no longer already, you can no longer ask for more in Social Security. Sabi ng Supreme Court, since 50% lang ang nakuha ng empleyado sa inyo during their request on their sick benefits, they can ask for the other half in Social Security, through Social Security or SSS or Social Security Act, RA 1161. If you're going to read this, makita nyo dun sa mark lang kasi alam ko mahaba to. But in no case shall payment begin before all leave absences. Kasi ito yung sinabi niya. According sa San Miguel Brewery, but in no case shall such payment begin before all leaves of absences with pay if any the creditor of the employee shall have been exhausted. Yan yung parang sinabi nila, inabigay na namin lahat 50%. Pero sabi naman, yes, you have already given us the payments, but it is not 100%. Now, because it's not 100%, we would like to ask the last or the remaining 50%. Kung hindi namin makuha sa'yo, doon namin kukunin sa Social Security. Okay? Nagbabayad naman kami doon eh. So, check nyo. Di ba sabi niya, ang contention kasi nila is the credit pero shall have been exhausted. Na-exhausted ba yun? 50% lang binigay. Alright. Okay. Statutes borrowed from foreign jurisdiction, where a statute of a foreign jurisdiction that receive a such judicial construction in such foreign jurisdiction is adopted in its entirety or partial in the Philippines. It is presumed that the construction previously put upon such is likewise adopted and should be interpreted following such construction. Okay. Ibig sabihin dito, lahat na nakuha natin sa ibang bansa, kung ano ang style ng paggamit nila, pag-apply nila, ganoon din ang pag-apply din natin sa Pilipinas. I don't think we need to explain this kasi natural naman. Kaya nga naghiram tayo eh. Kasi feel natin is applicable sa Philippine setting. So kung paano nila ginamit doon sa labas, yun din ang way natin na pag-apply dito. Okay, let's move to Gohildi book. Alright. So according sa kanya, ito yung mga extrinsic aids na pwede magpagkuhanan in case na intrinsic aid is not applicable and the statute or the provision or the law is vague, unclear, or not clear. Not unclear or vague. Alright? Or cannot be interpreted. Cannot be interpreted. Paano ba yun? Cannot be interpreted. Cannot be construed. Yan na lang. Okay, so contemporaneous circumstances, sinabi ko na yun sa kanina, pwede natin, legislative history, explanatory note, legislative debates, views and deliberations, prior laws, contemporary construction, executive construction, legislative construction, judicial construction, doctrine of study decisis, textbooks, dictionaries, foreign jurisprudence, foreign laws, treaties, and international agreements. Let's dissect them one by one. Now, explanatory notes. So, explanatory notes can usually be found on the website of the Presidential Legislative Liaison Office, pllo.gov.ph, which provides summaries of enacted laws. It can be checked at Senate and the House of Representatives websites for bills and laws which may include explanatory notes. The PLO compiles and provides access to summaries of enacted laws, which may include explanatory note or summary of its purpose. Senate and House of Representatives, these legislative bodies maintain their own records of bills and laws, including explanatory notes that were attached to them during the legislative process. So, napansin natin sometimes mahirap intindihin yung bills or laws at saka subject pa rin po siya sa deliberations and amendments, readings, first, second, third reading. So, yung explanatory notes, parang kumbaga, although hindi pa siya nabuo, pero meron na tayo, makikita natin doon yung law. Wala pa naman kasing declaration of policy na na-decidean. Wala namang preamble kasi nga pending pa siya. So, meron na tayo explanatory notes. Siguro, explanatory notes, ito yung parang kung ano yung essence nung gumawa. Bakit mo ginawa to, author? Para saan ba to? So, yung explanatory notes. Alright? So, check the website. Check that. Okay. Next, explanatory notes. Ichong versus Hernandez. The necessity of the law in question is explained in the explanatory note that accompanied the bill, which later was enacted into law. This bill proposes to regulate retail business. Okay, so ito, ang kaso naman ito is yung sinabi is mas marami na kasi yung inaalaw na foreigner about doon sa pagbibigay ng alam mo yun, yung parang mas malaki ang para kumbaga gina-equal yung treatment ng Filipino citizen sa foreigners. Kung saan sinasabi nila mas nalulugi ang Pilipino kasi mas kumikita yung mayaman kasi parehas kami ng status with the foreigner. Now, kailangan natin mag-enact ng law na kami dapat ang priority kaysa sa mga dayuhan. Bakit? Tingnan nyo, makita nyo sa lahat ng mga parte ng Pilipinas mayroong Chinese. Of course, Chinese are very good businessmen. Yung iba naman, dito na nagtira-tira, yung mga, lalo na pag sa South, sa Mindanao, no? May mga Malaysian, ganun. Sa North naman, meron na tayong Binondo, di ba? Or sometimes pag Chinese. Actually, dito meron din yung mga Chinese na businessmen. Now, sabi sa explanatory note, the bill proposes to regulate the retail business. Its purpose is to prevent persons who are not citizens of the Philippines from having a stranglehold upon our economic life. If the persons who control this vital artery of our economic life are ones who owe no allegiance to the Republic, who have no profound devotion to our free institutions, and who have no permanent stake in our policy welfare, we are not really masters of our destiny. All aspects of our life, even our national security, will be at the mercy of other people. In seeking to accomplish the foregoing purpose, we do not propose to deprive persons who are not citizens of the Philippines of their means of livelihood. While this bill seeks to take away from the hands of the persons who are not citizens of the Philippines a power that can be wielded to paralyze all aspects of our national life and endanger our national security, it respects the existing rights. Ayan. Ang isang explanatory notes can also be used as basis, especially sa Supreme Court. Ayan. Ginamit to sa Supreme Court in the case of Ichong versus Hernandez. Parang this is more like sinasabi dito na insofar as retail or business na lang as a whole, kailangan mag-priority natin yung ating kapwa Pilipino. Choose Philippines. Ayan. Choose local Philippines. Choose local Philippines, pero mas gusto pa natin Hermes, Kipling, mas gusto pa natin Nike, Puma, natin nakuha yun dito yung mga atin. So, yun. Tangkilikin ang sariling atin. Parang SB19 na. Atin. Okay, prior loss. Okay. So, prior loss, extrinsic aids, may mga cases na sooner or later na malalaman nyo na sometimes, sinasabi sa Supreme Court na according to the Spanish Civil Code, bakit? The Civil Code of the Philippines, nakuha natin yan, kinopya natin yan sa Civil Code of Spain. Diba? Kasi diba, na-invade tayo for 333 years. So, para mapadali, maganda din naman yung Civil Code of the Spain, doon natin na-trace back prior laws. Now, if you're going to go back way old, kung gusto mo talagang tingnan kasi hindi mo talaga maintindihan, we can go back to the previous where in the Civil Code of Spain took the Civil Code, which is the Civil Code of the French, the Napoleonic Code. Yan. The place of pizzas. Diba? Pizza Napoleon. Yan. Okay, so yan. So, nakita prior laws. Yan. So, bali, Civil Code of Philippines, nakuha sa Civil Code of Spain, Spain nakuha sa French. Ganun na. Prior laws. Extrinsic aid, so pwede mo siya. Kung gusto mo talaga mag-dig deeper, pasukan mo lahat yan. Contemporary construction, sinabi ko na kanina, let's just talk about it, pero this time around naman, construction. Kanina, contemporaneous circumstance, this contemporaneous construction. Are constructions placed upon states at the time or after their enactment by the executive, legislative, or judicial authorities, as well as by those who, because of their involvement in the process of legislation, know the intent and purpose of the law, such as draftsmen and the bill sponsors. Being strongest in the law, contemporary construction is an invaluable aid in the constructions by the courts or ambiguous or doubtful provision of the law. Siguro parang sinasabi dito is dahil daw doon sa mga nagtulong, nag-support daw doon sa law, para kailangan din daw sila to become part, no? Ma-consult, 'di ba? Matanungan. Pero kasi sabi ng Supreme Court, kung ganun man yung extrinsic aids natin, mawawalang kwenta, magiging walang kwenta yung Supreme Court. Again, primary interpreter of the law is the judiciary insofar as the legislature intent is concerned. Kung ito ay kailangan pang kunin yung entirety ng intent and purpose of those who are involved, such as draftsmen and bill sponsors, parang mangyayari, parang mapopolitiko kasi syempre aakuhin ng isang bill sponsor. Well, hindi ko alam, pero lately napapansin ko, mga senators, ako ang gumawa ng batas, blah 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 blah. Tayo magagawa. Nanggagaling sa kanila eh. Di ba? And statutory construction speaking is concerned, totoo, sila yung origin. But they are not the minds. Sometimes, yung nag-draft yung mga staff, personnel, researcher. Okay, executive construction. Ito, para hindi nyo maintindihan, para maintindihan nyo, sorry. Ang extrinsic aid, pwede din kunin sa IRR, Internal Rules and Regulations. Alright. The duty to enforce the law which devolves upon the executive branch necessarily calls for interpretation of its ambiguous provisions. Generally, executive and administrative officers are the very first officials to interpret the law before its enforcement in the form of rules and regulations, circulars, directives, opinions, and rulings. Although not binding in the courts, the construction given by the executive department should be considered and given weight, especially if it has been uniform, consistent, observed, and acted on for a long period of time. Opinions and rulings of the officials tasked to implement the law command much respect and weight. IRR. Bakit? Kasi sila yung mag-a-apply. So, syempre, di ba, pag bago ma-deploy, magkakaroon muna ng IRR. Yung IRR, ang gumagawa niyan is as long as hindi siya magde-depart doon sa law na approved by the Congress, yung IRR na yon, pwede siyang a source of extrinsic aid. Kasi mas madali kasi intindi kasi sa kwan eh, IRR, kasi mas nagbibigay siya ng more clarification. Right. Okay, legislative construction. The legislative may also define the terms used in a statute. Enact a declaratory act construing a previous law or resolve to indicate its sense or intent as to given statute, but by defining a term, it may not make the definition conclusive, not only as regards statute that defines the term, but also regards other statute as used elsewhere. Okay, wait. Itong legislative construction, nanggaling to sa legislative intent. Pero tatandaan natin na, although they are the authors, meron silang legislative intent. Sino ang may primary to interpret and construe? The Supreme Court or the judiciary. Tatandaan niya. Although, meron silang weight, pero hindi sila primary. Okay, judicial cause, eto na. Interpretation of the Supreme Court of a statute forms part of the statute itself and of the legal system. So, as such, it is not only controlling, but is of greater weight than that of executive or legislative construction. It is an invaluable aid in the construction of statutes of doubtful meaning. Yan, self-explanatory na. Doctrine of stare decisis, it means one should follow precedents and should not disturb what has been settled to stabilize the law. Once a case has been decided one way, then another case involving exactly the same point at the issue should be decided the same manner. Okay, ang stare decisis, para maintindihan yung stare decisis, ang sinasabi lang dito is, kung ano ang dinisayda ng Supreme Court na hindi pa binago, hindi pa inabando ng Supreme Court, yung desisyon na yon, tuloy-tuloy na yon hanggang sa hindi pa matapos-tapos. Okay, ang good case dito is the Iron Curtain Rule. Ano yung Iron Curtain Rule? That's Aquino versus Aquino. Now, before yung Aquino versus Aquino, ano yung ruling? Ano yung ruling? Ang isang illegitimate na bata, hindi siya pwedeng magmana sa legitimate na kapatid hanggang doon sa taas. So, kawawa yung illegitimate. Again, yung illegitimate na anak, pwede siyang magmana sa illegitimate na nanay. Ano may legitimate, illegitimate? On marital or non-marital? Bago pala yun. Marital and non-marital. Yun na lang. Yung marital, mama, papa, kinasal, pinanganak ako. Marital, child. Mama, papa, magsyota, nabuntis, nagkaanak, pero nagpakasal, marital. Legitimization. Mama, papa, nanganak, hindi sila kinasal. Non-marital child. Okay. Isip-isip. Let's think about it. Yung non-marital child, hindi pwede magmana siya sa marital kapatid. Marital children. So on and so forth. Hindi pwede sila. So, pag namatay yung isang dito sa linya na to, may namatay dito, hindi pwedeng magmana yung anak. Alright. Mamanahin lang niya is doon lang sa taas ng kanilang mother. Because of the Iron Curtain Rule. Iron Curtain Rule. Now, their case, the introduction of Aquino versus Aquino, nabigyan ng way paano makamana yung illegitimate child. Doon sa grandfather. Ayan. So, to give you a short understanding of that case, while it is true that the illegitimate child cannot inherit from legitimate siblings, they can inherit from the grandfather. Grandparents, to be exact. Ano yun? Article 992 o 994 ng Family Code. So, yun siya, ha? Tandaan nyo. Stare decisis. So, dahil yung Iron Curtain Rule, hindi pa lumabas yung Aquino versus, yun ang applicable. Wala na tayong pakialam kahit kawawa yung mga illegitimate child, wala silang mamanahin. But the introduction of Aquino versus Aquino, meron na siyang mamamana. So, yun naman yung ipa-follow mga ngayon. That is the doctrine of stare decisis. Kung ano ang dinisaydan na hindi pa siya na-abandon at wala pang panibagong ruling at yun na gina-apply, maging applicable yan hanggang 3,000 years hanggat hindi pa binabago. Okay, foreign jurisprudence. Ang itong case naman to, Watkins versus United States. Hirap pa itong basahin. Pero ang usapan kasi dito, itong foreign jurisprudence, ginamit to sa isang journal article, especially sa masteral ko sa law, na parang sinasabi dito is, pag ang hindi malinaw yung questions under inquiry, hindi ka pwedeng i-cite in contempt. Yun na lang. Kasi ni-refuse nung sa Congressional Committee, Quadcom, yung isang witness, nag-refuse siya sumagot kasi daw, hindi daw klaro or hindi daw related yung tanong. So, syempre, papasite in contempt nila. In the case of Watkins versus United States, was also a good foreign jurisprudence na pwedeng i-apply dito sa Philippines. Yun. Okay? Okay. Foreign laws. Okay. Yung sa foreign laws, ito yung mga laws na pwede nating lagyan ng basis. Bakit ko nilagay ito? Foreign laws, hindi siya actually applicable sa Pilipinas. Unless otherwise may treaty or member tayo ng United Nations Union. Ang good example ng foreign laws na kasama tayo during the time of 2019 na hindi pa tayo umalis sa nag-withdraw tayo sa Rome Statute. Applicable to nung hindi pa tayo nag-withdraw sa kanila. The Article 59 of the Rome Statute, which is currently in controversy. Na kumbaga ang sinasabi dito, kailangan to i-follow. Kasi nga members tayo doon. So foreign law is applicable to us during that time. Ano tong Article 15 of the Rome Statute? To make things short, kung sino man ang inaresto sa isang host country, for example sa Philippines, papunta sa ICC, kailangan dumaan siya sa competent judicial authority. So, sa atin, ang judicial authority natin is the court. That is my belief, ha? That is my belief. Na court are the competent judicial authority. Although, iba yung contention ng DOJ. It doesn't really matter sa akin yun. Okay. So, kailangan natin comply to. So, that is an extrinsic aid na pwede natin kunin ng kukuhanan natin po ng basis ng decision. Extrinsic aid because foreign laws is applicable to us. Now, kung hindi tayo member or wala tayong treaty or executive agreement sa isang country, hindi sa atin mag-apply yan. Alright. Pero, tandaan nyo, foreign laws insofar as universal human rights is concerned, genocide, slavery, trafficking in persons, kahit wala pong law, kahit wala tayong law dyan, hindi tayo with the treaty, we still need to follow, no? Under the principle of erga omnes, and also, yun, erga omnes, and also, for purposes of humanity is concerned. So, yan siya, foreign laws. Yan ang good example. Let's go to Diaz, the last. So, sa Diaz naman, parang the same as lang naman ang dalawa, pero let us just read them one by one. It is a well-accepted principle that where a statute is ambiguous or unclear, courts may examine both the printed pages of the published act as well as those extrinsic matters that may aid in construing the meaning of the statute, such as the history of the enactment, the reasons for the passage of the bill, and the purpose to be accomplished by the measure. So, ibig sabihin, unahin muna natin tingnan yung intrinsic aid. Kung hindi makita intrinsic aid, extrinsic aid na naman tayo. Sabi ni Diaz dito, check natin yung history ng paggawa ng law. Ano bang reasons? Anong essence? Anong purpose? Yan, ng law. Bakit yung ginawa? Okay? Again, pag hindi klaro yung statute or law. Okay. Next is, opinions and rulings of officials of the government called upon to execute, implement administrative laws command much respect and weight. Opinions and rulings of officials of the government called upon to execute or implement. Kung ang isang law is talking about tax ha, the main players to be involved are the BIR, maybe siguro Department of Finance, Court of Tax Appeals, ano pa pwede natin? So, ang point doon is IRR. So, kung hindi mo alam yung statute na yun, tingnan natin yung IRR. Tingnan natin kung paano ina-apply nitong mga government officials na gagamit ng law na yun. Right? Example, yung rule naman ng, for example, talks about 9165, yung mga drugs cases. Sino usually nag-handle dyan? Police, PNP, pwede siguro sundalo, no? Pwede siguro, I'm not sure, pero ganun siya. So, it has much respect and weight because they are the expert. They're the ones who will implement that, not the Congress. They will implement it, but who will enforce it? Yun lang. Palitan na lang natin implement. Enforce. Yan. Sino yung mag-enforce? Sino mag-execute? Sino yung gagawin niya, trabaho niya? Siyempre, sila. Okay, contemporaneous constructions placed upon a statute by executive officers charged with implementing and enforcing the provisions. Statute should be given controlling weight unless such interpretation are clearly erroneous. Diba kanina yung contemporaneous constructions hindi siya valuable kasi accordingly, dalawa kasing side ng coin na nagugulan ako dito pero nasa sa inyo na if you want to believe saan kayo maniniwala. Contemporaneous construction, sinabi dito, bibigyan ng weight yung legislative intent, yung authors, yung draftsmen, yung gumawa ng law. Alright? Ang sabi naman ng Supreme Court, yes, we will give you weight, but you are just secondary. Because at the end of the day, the general rule is that the Supreme Court or the judiciary is the primary interpreter and the ones to construe the law. Yan. So, kayo na maniwala kung saan kayo. Of course, we have to give weight on the legislative intention kasi sila nga gumawa eh. But of course, we have to respect the invaluable weight of the judiciary insofar as interpreting the constructions and how it was conveyed the law to the public. Alright? Next, courts may avail themselves of the actual proceedings of the legislative body to assist in determining the construction of a statute of doubtful meaning. Courts may avail themselves of the actual proceedings. Ano yung actual proceedings? Mga minutes of the meeting, mga legislative deliberations, pwede pong mag-pull out yung courts. Di ba nasabi ko, di ba nakita nyo may mga pinakita ko previous na ginadiscuss natin na, di ba tinignan yung explanatory note? Kinuha yun ng court. Ano pa? Legislative deliberations, di ba? Tinanong kung 20 million in the case of League of Cities of the Philippines ba yun? Yun. Di ba? Kinuha pa yung deliberation ng legislative para lang makita kung ano ba talaga yung intention. Papasok ba yung 20 million sa mga pending municipalities going to become cities or not? So, kailangan pa rin nung actual proceeding ng legislative body, mainly on the deliberation. In case of doubt as to what provision of a statute means, the meaning to the provisions during the legislative deliberations may be adapted. I think that's self-explanatory already. Individual statements by members of Congress on the floor do not necessarily reflect legislative intent. Of course, everybody should agree, should vote for that. But of course, you are not restrained to cite your own intent. Alright? So again, self-explanatory. Courts may resort to explanatory note to clarify the ambiguous and ascertain the purpose and the intent of the statement. Self-explanatory. So I think that's all for our topic on the extrinsic aid and the extrinsic aid and on our intrinsic aid and intrinsic aid and extrinsic aids. Okay, so for those for our next meeting, sabi ko na rin dito kasi para continuous yung natin yung recording. So I will be gone for this week. And on May 1, Labor Day. So, yung students ko sa Thursday, we will move our schedule on May 3 para makasama nyo yung ikalawang section na tuturuan ko. Alright. So, sir, ano po yung ating coverage? So, mag-oral recitation tayo. Oral recitation. Teka. Okay. Oral recitation. Sa mga Diaz book, chapter 9. Diaz book, chapter 9. Chapter 9. Ano yung chapter 9? Let's see. Let's see. Teka, chapter 9. Chapter 9 will be chapter 9, Diaz book, title Prospective and Retrospective Statutes. That will be our oral recitation. Alright? Tindihan? Okay. Next. That is for Diaz book, for my Sinsuat. May 3, right? For my Alonto kids. Go to chapter 8. Alonto, chapter 8, Prospectivity and Retroactivity. Alright, that is chapter 9. Chapter 8 pala, chapter 8. Sa Pilares edition. Sa Pilares book, okay? So, we will have an oral recitation on pain. So, kailangan nating maghabol So please take note of that. Alright? So maraming salamat. And please secure your attendance. And I'll see you on May 3. Thank you and have a nice day. Bye.